Hi, welcome to Faz Edu World. In this video, I would like to discuss the poem Democracy by Langston Hughes. James Mercer Langston Hughes was an American poet, social activist, a novelist, a playwright, and a columnist. He was born on February 1st, 1901 at Missouri, USA, and died in the year 1967. He was one of the earliest innovators of the art form called jazz poetry. Hughes is best known as a leader of Harlem Renaissance. He famously wrote about the period that the Negro was in vogue, which was later paraphrased as when Harlem was in vogue, and made the African American experience as a subject of his writings, which ranged from poetry and plays to novels and newspaper columns. His notable works include The Negro Speaks of Rivers, written in the year 1921, Harlem, 1951, The Very Blues, 1925, Dreams, 1922, Dream Variation, The Big C, Democracy, and Not Without Laughter. In 1926, he won first prize in the Victor Biner Undergraduate Poetry Prize contest. In 1954, Hughes won the Annis Fed Wolfe Award for the Best Book on Racial Relations. In 1960, he received the Spingarn Medal from the Nation Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Langston Hughes uses a lot of themes throughout his poetry. Some important themes that can be seen in his works are music, racism, dignity, survival, collective memory, and American identity. As he was a leader of Harlem Renaissance, that is a literary and political movement in America, he used the topics like racial discrimination, racial segregation, and prejudice in this poem. Throughout his poetry, Langston Hughes faithfully recorded the pathetic predicament of downtrodden African American in America and talked about the dream of freedom and democracy of these Afro-Americans. And this is what the name of our poem, that is Democracy. The poem Democracy was written in the year 1949. It is a short narrative in which the author talks about one of the serious issues, that is democracy. Racial injustice was huge in the American society when Hughes wrote this poem. At that time, the blacks were second class or inferior to the whites. They were denied equality and considered as mere slaves. Freedom and democracy were their dream at that time. So for better understanding, I have divided this poem or this section into two. First, the poem, and then summary and analysis. Now the poem Democracy. Democracy will not come today, this year, nor ever through compromise and fear. I have as much right as the other fellow has to stand on my 2 feet and on the land. I tire so of hearing people say, let things take their course. tomorrow is another day. I do not need my freedom when I am dead. I cannot live on tomorrow's bread. Freedom is a strong seed planted in a great need. I live here too. I want freedom just as you. The poem opens with a speaker talking about democracy never coming through compromise and fear. The speaker has as much right to own the land and stand on his own feet, just like anybody else. He then goes on to talk about the folks who say freedom will come tomorrow, just take its course. He also adds that he cannot live on tomorrow's bread. Freedom is a strong seed and is planted in a great need. Since the speaker lives here, he deserves freedom just like anybody else. And now we move on to the analysis of this poem. In the first stanza, Langston Hughes says that democracy will never come on this earth for him, not today, tomorrow, or even through compromise and fear. If they continue to live with fear, then the white people will continue to dominate the black population easily. In the second stanza, he says that he has so much right as a citizen to own the land, just as next person or white does, and wants to walk around his own land without fear. The third stanza shows his character, which is so eager to fight for his right, and he doesn't want to wait and tired of hearing, let things take their course, tomorrow is another day. The metaphor, I cannot live on tomorrow's bread, means that he cannot continuously live off of promises on things that may happen in the future. And he says that he wants freedom now or today itself. The fourth and fifth stanzas tell that freedom is a powerful object that everyone wants and deserves to live with. So at last he says that he wants to live in his land like other people or like the white people. This poem reveals a feeling of estrangement and exploitation of Negro community in racially segregated nation, America. The Negroes lived in an environment where they were subjected to torture and torments. So the main themes of this poem are, of course, democracy and racial discrimination. The poem is in a serious tone with no consistent rhyme scheme, but you can see similarly in the line, I want freedom just as you. Then certain rhyming couplets can be seen like ear, fear, stand, land, etc. And no personifications and alliterations at all in this poem. So I'm concluding by saying that this poem is about the fight of Negroes for freedom and democracy to get equality with the whites.